Let's take a quick non-political view of how we can respond to the shooting that just happened in Boulder, Colorado on Monday, just a few days ago. And we'll also look at how we can respond to other events in the future. So first, let me welcome you to the channel. What's up, friends and frenemies? Glad to have you back. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time, this is where we apply logic and conviction to news, politics, whatever is going on in culture. I'm C. Scott, and this is my view. So thanks for coming out today. By coming out, I just mean turning on this video. I do appreciate it. Like I said, it's going to be non-political. Just want to take a look at the event that happened in Colorado. It's a terrible tragedy that happened in Boulder, Colorado. Senseless, ridiculous, very sad thing that happened over there at a supermarket, grocery store in the Boulder, Colorado area, where a gunman went in. He killed one or two people outside, and then the remaining balance of the 10 he killed inside a grocery store of people that he did not know. They were just there shopping and doing their things. There was one officer who was killed in responding to the action. I just want to take a quick moment to talk about it, see how we can process it, and what we should do moving forward. To do this, I want to use an article that was written by a guy named Greg Stier. He's in youth ministry, and he wrote an article titled "Helping Your Teens Process the Horrific Mass Shooting in Boulder, Colorado." He wrote this particularly to parents or youth pastors, talking about how to help teens through their issues. I'm going to link the article below just so you can see it, and I want to adapt it for our own uses. So whether you're talking about helping other people, how we can help ourselves, whether they're adults, teens, children, whatever, these principles can be applied in a lot of different ways. So I want to use this article, and I also want to talk a little bit about perspective of this event, which will be really, really important as we move forward, and that'll come at the end. Before we get into it, don't forget, please, if you like this channel, if you like what I'm saying, if you agree, hit the like button, subscribe, send this video to your friends, family, whoever you think will benefit from it. The channel will benefit, and I will benefit also. I just appreciate it, helping the channel grow. Thanks a whole bunch. So let's get into the article. In this article, he talks about 5 things basically that we need to do. Now, several of these things are really what we need to do from a Christian perspective or as believers, but it's not only for Christians. So the first thing he says we should do is to cry with those who cry. It's a biblical principle. So in Romans chapter 12, verse 15, it tells us that we should rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those that mourn. So right now, our flags are at half staff as a nation, and we're supposed to be having a time of mourning. We certainly do want to cry with those who cry, and we want to rejoice with those who rejoice. We want to empathize and sympathize with those that are around us. We want to celebrate when there's time to celebrate, and we also want to mourn when it's time to mourn. Even though we may not be directly affected by different events, we certainly can support those who are by being there with them, working through a bit of their emotions, allowing ourselves to think and feel like what they might be going through so that we can help them. So yes, it is sad. It is a tragedy. It is something that's very difficult to understand or to process, but we should absolutely be there for those who are going through this event. Obviously, that's particularly going to be local for those that are in Boulder, Colorado. But there are things that we can do that we're going to look down later that we can do to help reach out. But we certainly want to be there emotionally with those who are struggling or dealing with this event in whatever way that they are. The second thing that we need to do is to refuse to live in fear. We have to refuse to live in fear. We can't allow events from here and there to cause us to be afraid where we are. We've seen it on a massive scale with what happened with COVID-19 outbreak over the last year. And there have been a lot of other micro incidents where we can verify this information, but we can't allow different situations, whatever they are, to allow us to live in fear. There's no reason, no good reason for us to live in fear. When we live in fear, we diminish our lives and take away from the life that we live. He notes here in Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14 and 15, that it says humanity, talking about Jesus shares our humanity so that by his death he might break the power of him who holds the power of death, that is the devil, and free those who are all their lives held in slavery by their fear of death. If we fear death, or if we have constant fear, it's like being in slavery all the time, because while we have this fear in our minds, we keep ourselves from enjoying the freedom and liberty that we would otherwise enjoy. So refuse to fear. Don't allow this event or other events to cause you to keep yourself enslaved or encapsulated in a small little bubble and not allow yourselves to enjoy life. Of course, we should be mindful, we should be aware, we should know what's going on and the situations that are around us, but we should not be in fear, meaning, oh, I can't do that because something bad might happen. If we lived in fear, if you're going to live in fear, you should never get in a car because there's a good chance you'll get in a car accident and be hurt. We should never fly in an airplane because there's a chance that the plane will go down. We should never eat food from fast food places or things because there's a chance that the food can be poisoned. We shouldn't go run, or walk down the sidewalk because there's a chance a car could hop up and hit a person. So if we allow fear to control our lives, then we won't do anything. And fear is not the way that we should live, whether believers or not believers. Number 3, particularly for Christians, and if you're not saved, you can get saved and you can do this. You can have this benefit for sure. Number 3, he says to take your worries to God in prayer. That's what the Bible teaches us. He notes in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, it says, don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation with prayer and supplication or petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends or surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. So when we have things that are worries or concerns, as believers, we're supposed to cast our care on God. He's supposed to care for us. So we're not supposed to walk around being concerned or in fear or worried about this and that. Now, the actual event or practice of taking our anxieties to the Lord, of taking our worry, our fears to the Lord, is something that will help release us from the pressure of those things. And it'll also help us be reinforced that God loves us, He's looking out for us, and that when we do what He has for us to do, He has great benefits and promises that are available for us. So we can, whether we're talking about helping other people or whether we're doing it ourselves, we want to take our worries to God. Sometimes we have worry that it's out of bounds. Sometimes we have worry that makes sense, but we shouldn't live our lives in worry. Let's allow God to help us and give the worry to Him. Number 4, he says that we can reach out to the bad, the broken, and the bullied. As in this particular shooting, this person says they have something in their past where people picked on them or called them names or some other, insignificant, in my mind, nonsense that may have added to why they did what they did and taken the lives of many other people. I don't remember hearing a report of how many people may have been wounded in this event. I've only heard the number of the people that were fallen. But whatever the case, we have an opportunity, maybe even an obligation, to reach out to people that are bad, broken, or bullied. Not because we don't want them to commit one of these acts, but because that's what we would want someone to do for us if we were in that situation. I think the term bullied and what's going on with that is like a whole nother video and topic of discussion for another time. But there are people who get picked on. Getting picked on is kind of a part of life, but it's not that we should just accept it and allow people to be picked on. And of course, there are lots of times where it goes way too far. And so we shouldn't encourage people to be picked on. We shouldn't get in on picking on other people. And so when we notice that, whether, this happens with kids at school, it also happens with adults in office places and other places of life that we visit and that we frequent. We should reach out for those people. We should sit with the people that nobody wants to sit with. At least sometimes. We should engage with the people that no one wants to engage with. We should try to encourage, especially those that are constantly beat down and pushed down by those that are around us, our peers, those also that are in our circles. So number 5 in the end of his article says that we should encourage people, and I'm saying that we too should be ready to act if or when the time comes. We should be ready to act. We have the news and the evidence that these events have happened, whether it's an event just like this or some other mass tragedy or craziness event, we need to prepare our minds now so that if something happens, we'll be ready to act. We need to train our kids on that, our teenagers on that, our loved ones. If we love them and care about them, let's encourage them to be ready to act. He says in particular that action may be to run, to lock a door, jump out a window, hide in a closet, or even charge a gunman. It all depends on the situation, but all those things are better than doing nothing. Doing nothing in a traumatic event is always the worst thing. Whether that's a car accident, whether that's a train accident, or things going bad, in addition to one person trying to hurt, or some people trying to hurt a whole lot of people at one time. Whatever the case is, do something. Try and think through so you do something good rather than something bad, but something, some type of movement, some type of decision always puts you at an advantage in these types of situations. So it's very important. Again, if you're in the life of young people, whether it's your own children, nieces and nephews, kids at church, around the block, whatever, encourage them, help them. The government has resources and information on it. There are lots of other companies and things that put information out about what to do in these different types of situations. Encourage them, train them, allow them to be ready to act, and you be ready to act if you're ever in this type of situation or any other type of situation where you or others could be hurt. We have to act. We have to do something. Don't be still. The last thing is not from his article. It's just from my own point of view, because that's what we do at this channel. My own point of view is perspective. We have to keep perspective when this and other events happen. Now, I want to say this, and it's not in any way to demean the event that we're talking about, the shooting or the lives of the people in Boulder, Colorado. We have to keep perspective. We need to remember that people die each and every day. Death is kind of a part of life. Unfortunately, there are over 3,000 abortions that happen every day. There are tens or hundreds of accidents that happen in the United States every day. There are like fatal accidents that happen is what I'm trying to say. So there are people that are passing away constantly. And again, not to belittle the tragedy in Boulder, Colorado, we also need to remember that while we mourn for these particular 10 families who've been radically changed, there are multiples more families who've also been changed. And so we should focus on a bit the people in Colorado, but we shouldn't stop there. We need perspective to say that it's not just this one event. There are people dying all over the place. There are terrible events and things that are going on all over the place. So with our perspective, let's not only be involved and engaged in this area, but let's be involved and engaged in everywhere we can be. Let's encourage as many people as we can encourage. Let's not only pay attention when things happen like this. Another bit of perspective is that while these things happen and they shouldn't be accepted, they kind of are a part of life. And so we don't want to allow people with ulterior motives to use an event like this to get us to go in a direction that we wouldn't otherwise go in. So we shouldn't allow politicians to use this event to cause us to do things in our country that we otherwise wouldn't agree with. Don't allow news sources to use this event to grab our eyeballs, because it's not so much about the event for them, it's getting you to watch their channel, and it's getting you to stay tuned. The more you stay tuned, the better ratings they have, the more money they make on advertising. So we don't want to allow the news to use us to increase their profit by constantly wall to wall showing us these things. There are other people that'll use this type of event to have us constantly in fear. So whatever ulterior motives, don't allow people to use this event to push. We need to keep perspective all around us, knowing what's going on, and make our decisions wisely based on the big picture, not the smaller picture. That's all I really have to say. I hope this makes sense to you. I hope this is good information. I hope it helps you in dealing with these types of things. That's all I have to say for now. I'm C. Scott. That's how I see it.